What is going on, guys? MJ2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys the Gunpla News Roundup video for December of 2021. Since it's going to be a bit boring going through the stuff myself, I actually brought on Second Soundwave to come along with the ride. So,
Hello.
Soundwave. So there we go, we have Second Soundwave on board, for no particular reason, just for friends to talk about the announcements that were announced this month. Starting off with premiums, of course. The start of the month always starts with premiums, with the Master Grade Astraea Type F full weapon set, which is going to be an April release, but it says May here because Hong Kong, for 440 Hong Kong dollars. I'm going to put the conversions in post. So in my opinion, yeah, this definitely does ruin the chances for a Master Grade XCO 2.0, but especially because next year is going to be the 15th anniversary of 00. I'm a little bit on the fence about that aspect.
I've already talked a little bit before about how I feel about the Astraea Type F, and I do share your opinion that this does kind of shoot the possibility of an XCO 2.0 into the ground, but what I've noticed odd more recently, I guess, in the time since I made that video, is that this kit, as far as I know, still hasn't gone up for pre-order in the US P-Bandai shop, which I think is a little odd.
And it immediately evaporated once pre-orders were open, as you can blatantly see, story out of stock. Yep, here we have the full loadout, and we do have the capability of converting this thing from the Type F to the Type F2 with a bunch of leftover parts. But what is interesting is what Soundwave mentioned in his video. The full loadout also features the Exia loadout, which is normally leftover parts, so we expect that to be included in the kit, but never to be featured in the full loadout shot.
So there's a couple other things to consider regarding that. First of all, those weapons are actually used for the Avalanche form, so they could have included them here so you could use them with the Avalanche armor. And secondly, I saw a couple people in the comments in my video mention that there actually were one or two times in the anime where the Astraea did use the upgraded Exia shield.
Is it the slip of the tongue? You mean manga, right? Because Astraea,
the manga, yeah, the manga.
It's a little bit obscure to us because we don't really know the full extended backstory. We just know what is presented in, let's say, Cross Race, and it never used the Exia loadout there. Apart from the Exia loadout, we do get the full, like, crazy buttload of weapons.
That bazooka is supposed to be for the Jinx, but the Jinx model didn't actually come with that.
That's odd. So
if you have a Jinx 3, that's another reason to pick up the Astraea.
And of course, we do have the LED compatibility front and back, so kind of like the Virtue as well. If you have
I really do like how the LED GN drive looks with the more proto GN drive of the Astraea. That's a really cool look with those three green glowing sections on the back.
That is definitely cooler than, I'd say, the Nautilus drive when I showed that in my review, because of the different stylistic choices. So yeah, we have a crazy amount of weapons here for 440 Hong Kong dollars, which I'd say is not Aesculapius types of ridiculous, but still reasonable.
Oh, no.
To go along with this Astraea Type F full weapon set, we do have the Avalanche armor, which is surprisingly still available for pre-order.
So there's no new tooling at all in the Avalanche armor. It's literally just a recolor of the Exia parts. And actually, as you can see right here in these images, they are using the Exia style weapons with it, which gives some purpose to those parts on the Astraea.
Yeah, and it does actually validate the reason for them featuring the Exia weapons in the full loadout shot. And I don't know what is up with Gundam Info, because they said that the stand is sold separately. But if you look at, yeah, the action base is sold separately for whatever reason.
That has to be a typo. They literally, I understand them using an action base in some of these action shots, but they would never show it with the other accessories unless it was actually a part of the kit. I guarantee you that's a typo.
Hi, Editing MJ here. So the reason that I got confused is that the set content says it has the Avalanche Dash unit set, obviously, and a dedicated pedestal, which I assume is the action base, and the water decals. So the statement that the action base is sold separately is either lost in translation or actually just a typo, and because it is contradictory to include a quote-unquote dedicated pedestal while the action base is sold separately, with nothing looking like a pedestal in the full loadout shot. So any of you know more of what's going on, please tell us in the comments below. But it's definitely not going to be worth 210 Hong Kong dollars for an April release May delivery if it is only just for the armor. I'm sure of that. Like, at least a quarter of the worth is in the action base.
I remember thinking that $30 for the Avalanche parts in an action base seemed a little bit on the steep side, although not as egregious as the actual price of the main kit.
Speaking of other premiums, we do have the full reveals of the Code Fairy kit, starting with the White Rider. This thing was interesting. I actually pre-ordered both the White and the Black Riders. It definitely looks interesting, well, the in-game model at least, because if you paint this red, it's literally just going to be the McDonald's French fry package for the head. Overall, I think it is a pretty unique design, especially with the half cloak over here.
I think both of the Pale Riders are all right, but I'm not particularly interested in either of them.
Yeah, especially because for some reason this thing is out in the wild and the huge sticker sheet literally turned people off. Like you can see, it's still up for pre-order, even though it is almost a month since pre-orders were open. And I do really like the crossbow over here. I'm hoping that it is going to be fully transforming parts, apart from
it's not.
It's not.
You can see the hydraulics that are holding up the arms. You can actually see in the accessory loadout when they show the picture of all the accessories for it.
There are the hydraulics, see? But the extension mechanics seem to be like fully convertible. So you just have to insert the hydraulics in there and you'll be grand. So it'd be
nice if the person that got that early copy of the kit showed off a little more than just the sticker sheet.
Yeah, for us over here in Hong Kong, we have to wait until March. The saber over here tends to get shoved to the side because it's just a generic saber. But with the guard over here, I rarely see swords with a guard like this. But then again, it's a round peg in a square hole, so I don't know how well that's gonna hold up.
You can literally see that the guard is like not aligned properly with his knuckles. It's like tilting off to the side, so it looks like it is just gonna be a round peg.
To top it all off, Pale Riders weren't known for having pegs in their palms, so that's
true. And they wouldn't retool it just for this kit.
Yeah. And let me see if I can find the photo here. Yep, we do have sensor stickers for the Zeus system, which is also paid off with the crown because Zeus is the king of the Olympians. Talking about design cues, the Black Rider actually has a design cue that is related to its special system. It's called the Themis system, if I'm correct. Themis is the Titan goddess of justice. So the dishes over here, the radium discs, actually symbolize the scales of justice.
I liked this design a lot more once I realized that was the connection.
Yeah, it's a little bit on the nose, I must admit, but it is definitely cool.
I think it's pretty clever.
Yeah, it's pretty clever. But we do have the Themis system stickers over here, and I feel like this actually detracts from the design because I really do like the blue accents of the normal mode.
100% agree.
And the daggers over here, I'm not really too sure if they're going to be going the Goof R35 route where the blades are separate, but I doubt it because...
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
It's either stickers or paint.
Yeah. Pale Riders, am I right? Can never escape the curse of stickers.
I kind of like how he has the little anchor shot thing on the arm. I just wish the mechanism for it wasn't so bulky and protruding, because it's such a minor weapon that to have it be this huge, massive lump on his arm feels kind of silly. If it was a little more streamlined and compact, I think it'd be a little cooler.
And of course, the nightmare that is the bazooka. My god. There's no chance there's gonna be this much color separation on it.
It does appear to be a new mold, though. I can't think of any other kits that have a bazooka that looks like that.
Yeah, it's a new design, from what I can tell, but I don't think they're gonna be implementing stickers for the color separation, I don't think.
Probably not.
Probably not.
That's just gonna be a solid chunk of gray.
Yeah. And here's the full loadout with rocket anchor, the daggers, the scales on the back, and I think these are swords, like the ones that are protruding out to the side.
Maybe that's a version of the grappling anchor spike thing for when it's actually resting in the arm and not deployed on a wire.
Maybe.
Because I don't see anything else on the body that would correspond with those parts.
Yeah.
There's no other there are little silver spikes of some kind, but I don't see any other part of the body that has that type of shape to it.
Only time will tell. This is
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, this is also a February release for Japan, March delivery for me. And one last thing I'd like to talk about this is that it reminds me of the Sergeant vs. Buster Gundam a lot. I bet somebody who would resonate with this thought would actually turn this into a version of the Sergeant vs. Buster Gundam in real type.
Yeah, I could see the resemblance.
Yeah. And then for something that is not available from the line, not available anymore at least, the Efreet Jaeger. For some reason, this design is popular enough to run out of stock. And personally, I don't see why, but for the new weapons, yeah, Kinda.
The rifle is the biggest draw of this kit for sure.
Yeah, because the Efreets were primarily melee units. So for now to have it like a range type Efreet, it's definitely kind of
And
like the
even
drawing point.
disregarding the fact that it's on an Efreet, it's just a cool rifle design in general.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool sniper rifle.
I mean, as I pointed out in my video, the whole thing is kind of just most of the design outside of the knee, the rifle, and the shoulder pad, and like a couple other minor areas is pretty much just kit bashed parts from Efreets we've already gotten. So especially if you're like me and you already have a bunch of Efreet kits, there isn't really a ton of draw to this one outside of the rifle.
Yeah, but for me though, still tempted. But I really do like the additions of the crackers. So if you don't like them on your Efreet, you can throw them to your Zaku. Why not?
I feel like it's been a while since we've gotten crackers with the Xeon kit. I don't know, maybe there was something in the Origin line that had them. Literally the last time I can remember seeing them was on that Zaku Ground War set.
That sounds like it's something from a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is actually getting reprinted in January. It's basically just the old high-grade Zaku with a bunch of weapons and some tanks and other smaller Xeon vehicles, and there's like alternate parts so you can make them look damaged and stuff. It's basically a diorama in a box.
Let's move on to the retail release. Let's start off with the Schwalbe custom, and my mind was blown. I said I was going to be happy if they do a Schwalbe custom high grade back in November, and here we are. And the most surprising thing, like I checked the rifles, they are okay at least. It's just the animation style of the bullets that made me think that they're railguns. But the most surprising thing is that the arrows on the shoulder and the shield look to be color separated.
I'm not so sure about the shoulders anymore, but definitely the shield.
At least the detail is going to be molded in, so painting is not going to be a hassle.
Yeah, I love the color scheme on this. That dark red with the chocolate brown looks really good.
Yeah, and apparently the butt thruster over here is a new thing to this kit. I never knew that.
It is. The McGillis version just had a regular thruster on the back.
These bayonet pistols just look amazing. Like, dual...
I mean, the silver parts aren't probably going to be silver since there's no other silver on this kit.
I think they're just going to be straight up white.
Maybe.
If
I guess they could tool them with the chevrons for the shield. I'm actually pretty positive that the shoulder parts aren't white.
Oh yeah, because of the layers here.
Look at the underside. There's no thickness to the white part.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's probably just stickers.
Well, on the bright side, they're going to be clearly defined. So and it is going to be releasing in May for 1,760 yen. So one of the higher ends, but I don't know if because of inflation or something. But for the same price, we're going to be getting the Sigrun. So, yeah, another Valkyria frame.
Long time coming.
Yeah, long time coming. We still don't have the Linde from Gecko, so I don't know what's up with that.
That would be a cool one to get.
Yeah, that will be a cool one because of the Valkyria double blades. But anyways, the Sigrun. Still, to this day, even seeing the ultimate attack where the spikes on the shield fire out as anchors and the drill bit actually spinning, quote unquote. The model didn't spin, of course. I'm still feeling a little bit mixed about the design because I'm still not too sure about the head.
I like it. I think this is a pretty cool looking design, and this is my favorite out of the 3 new IBO reveals.
It would probably take some time to grow on me, but I'm going to be approaching this with an open mind. Let's just be sure of that. And the rear view, it's basically just your generic Valkyria frame with the thrusters locked down because of the top pieces. Nothing too special on the back. Mm-hmm. And action poses, yeah, I think the lance tip is going to be kind of like a murky gold. And also sharpen it because it just feels irksome to see the lance actually not being sharp. Especially because the in-game model is actually razor sharp, so that's one more thing to talk about.
That's almost more like a foil. Actually, I guess that would almost be more like a foil than a lance.
It's not actually called a lance as far as I can remember. But yeah, I had to check up on the names. But anyways,
it's shaped like a lance.
Yeah,
100%.
It's
just a lot smaller than a lance.
Yep. The main draw to me is actually the hand options for Valkyria frames. So we previously only got the holding hands, but now we have a left open hand and a right angle holding hand. So this thing does not just these things do not just work for the Sigrun. They do have some application for the Grimgird. The Helmwig, not so much because of the giant hands, but the Grimgird could definitely benefit from these hands as well.
Did they not include angled holding hands with the Grimgird?
Nope, they only included the standard holding hands.
Okay. Yeah, that would be pretty useful then for sword poses.
Yep, and instead of releasing in May, this thing is going to be releasing in June. And I was wrong in the previous video. There is actually line art here, but in a different website. So they're officially launching Iron-Blooded Orphans mobile suit variation, starting with the Sigrun. Hopefully we will get more of the Valkyria frames, Gundam frames, whatever, under this project. Especially because when Mobile Suit Gundam 8 was announced for Gundam Ace, which is basically kind of like a story that is based on the post-disaster timeline with a silhouetted Gundam that is in the banner to tease the project. So hopefully all of them would be listed under mobile suit variations in the future.
If we ever see all 72 Gundams from IBO, this is a place we're going to see it.
Yup. And to move on, we have the Gundam frames, the Gundam Asmoday. Now, to clear up confusion...
Wait, that's the official spelling they're using for it?
This is where I want to clear things up, because the Gundam Asmoday is called the Gundam Asmodeus, or whatever pronunciation in Japanese.
The katakana literally says Asmodeus.
Yep, but I don't know why they switched to an alternate name, Gundam Asmoday. So let's be open to both names. So it depends on what is written on the box. I'm gonna wait for that, but as it states here, it's gonna be 2,090 yen for an April 2022 release, so there's not far to wait.
Look,
but
Bandai's been calling the Gundam Geminis the Gundam Geminas for 20, 30 years now. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see Asmoday on the box for this thing.
It still fits. At least they're not deviating from the mythology of it. There are multiple names, so I'm open to that. So, yeah, if anybody is confused, that's why. Moving on to the actual photos over here now, I feel like the moment I looked at the Gundam Asmodeus, I'm just gonna call it Gundam Asmodeus because katakana, but whatever. The Gundam Asmodeus here looks a little bit off.
I'm not a fan of those colors.
The colors I'm a little bit warmed to, but the looks, they just feel a little bit off, especially the head. Now I'm gonna post the official line art on the side in post, and you can see the differences. Now, if you aren't as fastidious as me, you won't mind much of the discrepancies, but most of all, the head and the shoulders look way too off for me to kind of like the design. But anyway,
I don't think I would mind the design as much if it was in a more appealing color scheme.
Yeah.
I don't like that slate gray. I don't like the tennis ball yellow. I don't like the purple accents. There's really nothing about this color scheme that resonates with me.
I'm neutral on the matters. And the grand tonfas over here, these things are just ridiculous.
I get it that they're like arm-mounted tonfas, but having them extend that far behind his elbows doesn't really do anything.
First of all,
it doesn't make them more effective at being tonfas.
It makes it more effective for the defensive aspect of tonfas, but for offense, it doesn't extend beyond the fists, which could be a telescopic point over here that extends beyond the fist when needed, so as to not get in the way of handheld weapons. But it's just a lot of missed opportunities, and never mind the gigantism of weapons in Iron-Blooded Orphans. Tonfas are supposed to be swift attack weapons. Now, they are just making, gigantic arm-mounted hammers, as I feel. So,
they're effectively just pile drivers that are facing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, we should be seeing this in the game, right? This is from
Hunt. Yeah,
so
this is from Urusu
supposedly
Hunt.
We'll be seeing this in the game.
Yeah. As for what role, we don't know. Because this thing, if you haven't read the blurb, it hasn't been deployed in the Calamity War for some stupid reason. That's why it's so ironic. It has the Fat King aesthetic. Anyways, we do have the Giant's Javelin, from what I remember it being called, and first of all, this is not a javelin. Second of all,
no, it's a sword with an extending blade.
Yeah, it's a sword with a wire guided blade. That's it. And I doubt the wire is going to be that supportive because of the giant blade, despite it maybe be made up of two halves.
I could see the blade, depending on its size, maybe being just light enough for the wire to hold it up briefly.
Maybe
if you just want to take a few quick photos of it, you could probably get away with just supporting it with the wire.
Yeah, but personally, I will be using this as a gigantic sawed-off sword. And you can see the rifle in the back, hung back. It is the original design for the Asmodeus, so it will be included in the kit. And the storage
very basic machine gun.
Yeah, very basic machine gun. The thruster is going to be movable, but the feet claws are going to be parts forming parts. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, this literally says it is achieved by swapping parts.
By swapping parts, yeah. Yep. Yeah, okay.
By swapping parts, unfortunately.
I guess you can kind of tell when you look at it because the the claw parts that are flipped down, there's like no negative space underneath them where they would have flipped out from, so you can kind of tell by looking at the pictures.
Yeah, I realized that upon looking at it. And that's basically King Asmodeus added into the Iron-Blooded Orphans lineup. Feeling mixed about it. Soundwave doesn't like it, but I'm gonna approach the review with an open mind. Speaking of kings, though, the Four Kings of Barbatorus has an official release date now. Now, like in the beginning of December, I remember them being listed for a June release date, which is absolutely ridiculous. So thankfully, they have pushed it forward to a February release date. Now, as far as I remember, they were released in the US in November, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah, we've had those for months.
Yeah, these are basic color variants.
I've seen a lot of people build that Astraea, and a few people build the Wing Zero as well.
Yeah, they do have some custom adapters that I'm unable to show because they are not up for pre-order in Hong Kong yet for some reason.
They included newly tooled shoulder parts for the Astraea to give it ball-jointed shoulders like a modern kit, and similar modifications were made to the Goof. But I think the Ground Gundam and the Wing Zero are unchanged because they already use modern-style joints.
Yeah, but they still include some type of adapter that I'm unable to recall from the top of my head. But it is interesting to see the Astraea and the Goof get retooled.
I think at least one out of the four had literally no new tooling though, although I don't remember specifically which one it was. I mean, I might pick up the Astraea just as an excuse to build that mold again.
Yeah, but arm the sword with the left hand because that's why Graham lost. And moving on to the new product images, first of all starting off with the God Gundam, because there's barely anything new that is shown here, apart from the neutral standing pose, front and back. But it does carry some features from the high resolution over, kind of like the hyper mode transformation or some type of stuff like that. So you do have the opening shoulder pads, and I think that's it.
I was planning on selling my high res when I saw the real grade, but I've been looking at some pics online, and I think I am going to end up building the high res too, because that thing just looks so cool.
Yeah, and you can probably do kind of like a side-by-side comparison review, unlike what I'm able to do because I don't have the high res, don't have the budget for it.
They both are really cool renditions of the God Gundam.
Yep, absolutely. And this confirms what I was suspecting because the backpad does have individual joints for the entire wing assembly to swivel and flap forward and back. So a lot of possibility there on top of what's already advertised for the real great God Gundam. And we do have a clear look of the full loadout here. So fists holding hands, open hands, karate chop hands, and stock hands for finger attacks. And we do also have the halo on the back, which I am very glad of.
It looks a lot nicer than the one the high res came with because it's actually separated into different pieces instead of just being a single, basically just sheet of acrylic cut out in a circle.
And interestingly, the beams for the beam sabers are going to be shaped like a katana.
That's a very nice blade sculpt. I'd like to see them use that on other kits in the future. Obviously, there's not a lot of suits that would have a canon reason to have those type of sabers, but you know, it's in something like Build Fighters or Gundam Breaker, anything's possible, so I would love to see those type of swords show up again in the future.
Perhaps a real great Shining Gundam, wouldn't you think?
Possibly.
And finally, the one that received the most amount of new product photos, the Full Mechanics Raider Gundam. And my basic opinions is, my suspicions were right. They do have pretty good tooling, pretty good detail, and color separation. But overall, just the looks, I'm a little bit on the matter, especially because of the face cannon.
They're kind of selling me on it. It's taking a while, but I feel like I'm gradually warming up to this kit. I think the best thing about it for me is just how powerful it looks. Like, go back to the front view of this thing. Look at just what a massive, imposing silhouette this mobile suit has. They beefed it up, they chunked it up, and I think it just looks awesome.
It looks more like a brute unit more than anything. So yeah, I kind of
guess. It looks like the big wrecking ball weapon actually makes sense for it now. It doesn't just look like a regular Gundam that happens to have a wrecking ball for some reason. He really looks like a big brawler that has a weapon that really suits his fighting style.
It is finally worthy of lifting its own hammer called Mjolnir, am I right?
Exactly.
And moving on to the action poses, I hope the wire is strong enough to hold up the Mjolnir because I don't think the wire is worthy. But then again, the hammerhead can be a lot heavier than I expected because the parts...
There's no way the wire is going to hold that up.
There is absolutely no way the wire is going to hold that up. Now, this close-up shot is selling me on the face. I don't know for what reason, but...
I'm really impressed with the color separation they
It
got on
is
that head.
like, I'm not gonna deny that. It's absolutely
I mean,
impressive.
look at those little red bits on the side of the cheeks. That's crazy.
I was gonna say that. So yeah, the red bits over here, color separated, eyes color separated, face cannon color separated. There's barely any need for stickers, if any are included at all.
And disregarding just the fact that the thrusters have 2 different colors, look at just the sheer level of detail that's molded into them. Look at how many little details and features are inside of those thrusters.
That is absolutely ridiculous, and I love it. Like, they went to this extent to sell what is a semi-appealing design, because I don't think the druggies were anybody's first pick, but this, for any Seed fan, would possibly shoot up to the top area, and it looks to be very posable as well. From the this is addressing the mobile armor mode transformation, but the joints can retroactively be used in the mobile suit mode to achieve more articulation, so that's pretty nice as well. And it looks as though the shoulder cannons are fully transformable, which is just ridiculous.
I think it's really interesting how Bandai is constantly reevaluating how they articulate models. They've really gotten to a point now where they could kind of just use whatever the current standard is for like an articulation style perpetually. Like, they've given them enough articulation and then some, but they keep looking at different and better ways they could accomplish the same range of movement or get a little more movement. And you look at little features they add to something like the God Gundam, where they give it that ability to extend the arms down just a little bit. Or you look at the Raider Gundam here, where they engineered a way to get the head to look up for the flight mode. On kits like the Real Grade High New Gundam, they built the elbows in such a way that you can bend them both ways. And there's all these little ways they keep looking for to try and make the articulation and posing experience better and better, even though they're in a position right now where they don't really have to. I think that's really commendable.
And one thing that I really love to address is how the wire coils up inside Mjolnir. That is absolutely unexpected for my point of view.
That is such a cool gimmick, though, the way that you literally wind it up like that. That's so smart.
That is, yeah, that is ingenious.
Sometimes my genius it's almost frightening.
Everything else, apart from subjectivity, is selling this kit very heavily.
It's just an awesome looking model.
Yep, it's just an awesome looking model with incredible tooling, but the CG render doesn't really sell it for me. Not yet. As for the January 2022 release schedule, we kick off the year in the middle of the month with the entry-grade Strike Gundam. This is the one with the rifle and shield, the high-grade 00 Command Quanta, and the Gundam Barbatorus. Unfortunately, school has already begun whenever these are released, so it's gonna be a little bit of a hindrance to my efficiency. But I will still be reviewing this, and they will signify my return from the winter and New Year's break. And moving on to the 22nd, and that's the only other days that we get Gunpla, quote unquote. We get the Perfectibility Liu Bei and the Victory Buddha Wukong. And for those of you who stay tuned to Kyokai Senki, you do get the full mechanics 1/48 scale Mailess Kenbu on the 29th. Moving on to premium Bandai deliveries for Japan, we do have the perfect grade 1/60 scale Unicorn Gundam Perfectibility along with the Divine expansion set shipping on the same month. And then we have the high grade Gundam Icicle APS. I will be reviewing this whenever it arrives in February, so do stay tuned for that. And finally, for premium Gunpla, we do have the Shin Busha, basically the repainted Busha Gundam. That is going to wrap it up for this video. We did get a lot of input from Soundwave, especially after benefit of hindsight for a lot of these models.
Because one thing that people don't necessarily realize is that my first impressions on a kit that I give in a Gunpla news video isn't my set-in-stone permanent opinion on that model. And, you know, sometimes like I look back on it like a week later or a month later, and I feel a bit differently on it.
Thanks for having you, Soundwave.
Oh, it was fun being here.
Yep, hopefully we get to do more of this in the future, but time zones always screw us over because we're halfway across the planet. But anyways, that is going to wrap it up for the last news roundup video for 2021, and thank you all so much for watching this video, and yeah, I guess season's greetings to you guys and a happy new year. Of course, subscribe to the channel to us for more news and occasional reviews as well, and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications, and I'll see you all in the next video. Happy New Year,
Take care,
everybody.
guys.
Take care, and see ya.